Okay, hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Daniel Smith, and I am a black belt candidate, or was a black belt candidate before I got sick years ago in Isshinryu karate. I was about 6 months away from getting my black belt had I not stopped for family and personal reasons. Whenever I was 20 years old, I'm 45, about to turn 46 now, and unfortunately for me, I've had 4 strokes in my lifetime already. So you may ask why you don't like you train. It's kind of hard to train when you're 50% numb in both feet and your left hand. All right. So, but my head knowledge is still there, and I can still teach this stuff if people were willing to listen. And so, uh, the other day I made a post on someone's video on YouTube explaining some things about martial arts. And in the process, I mentioned that I know about 200 total submissions, although I probably only know the names of about 50 of them 26 years later. But I can still describe how to do them. Like, for example, the one I'm about to show you, I don't remember the name of. So, suppose someone's throwing a right punch. In Isshinryu karate, we throw a slightly canted vertical fist punch because we believe it aligns the muscles and bones and ligaments in your wrist better so that you don't hurt your own self when you punch. All right, so suppose, but it doesn't matter if they throw a twist punch like most boxers use. Incidentally, um, Terrence Crawford and Noah Inoue both use vertical fist punches when they box in boxing gloves. All right, and they're both the best boxers probably ever in their weight class. All right, so anyway, suppose a right punch, either a straight punch or especially if it's a hook punch, because a hook punch is a little bit easier to do this with. Suppose it's coming in, you're going to block right about here, the lower end of the radius bone, and you're going to grasp their arm here. All right. With your other arm, you're going to grab the elbow and torque in and up. So you're chicken winging the person. And I don't remember the name of this move, but we can call it the chicken wing just for the moment. And so their elbow is going to want to do this number, and it hurts. You feel really bad right here on the tricep. You can feel it on the tricep where it really hurts the person's tricep, and it's really going to hurt their elbow as well because you torque out and down here, but you torque up and in here. All right. And you're like, well, isn't the person going to try to throw a punch with their other hand? Yes, you can try to throw a punch with your other hand. I admit that. But what happens is I've got you locked here, and I can easily lift my elbow and shoulder and deflect your punch or just stay at range. And you're the one who's feeling pain. So it's going to be harder for you to throw a counterattack than it is for me to grapple you. And then the other issue is while I'm grappling you, I can plant with my left leg and throw knee strikes to the body with my right knee. All right, and still hold the lock on you. All right, so it's true that some Japanese jiu-jitsu locks do not fully tap a person out, or might not will tap some people, but might not tap everyone out by themselves. But with combined striking, that is elbows and knees and kicks combined with the lock, you will tap the person out, or they'll get stopped in a contest due to unanswered strikes. Even if they don't specifically give up, they're going to get beat so one-sided that the referee is going to stop it due to unanswered strikes. All right. So there's all sorts of locks in Isshinryu karate and Japanese jiu-jitsu. I think 6 of them are specifically in the Isshinryu syllabus to begin with, but the rest of the 6 of the wrist locks are in the Isshinryu syllabus to begin with, and the rest of them come from Japanese jiu-jitsu. But there's one where you just grab across here and torque back and back. It works either way, but one way is preferred way. You torque back and sideways at the same time, and the person will tap out. That's called a front wrist lock. This one, where you grab right here between these two bones with your thumb, and you grab the back of the knuckles here, and you chicken wing the person this way. The lock goes back that way, and if you have another hand free, you're going to pull their elbow up and in like we did previously. But if you only have one hand, it's still effective, and it's called the full wrist lock. And you can literally take the person all the way to the ground. They'll fall backwards with it because it hurts so bad that they're going to go with it, or they're going to tap out. And you can, once you get them on the ground, you can tap them out with it anyway because you can really apply pressure then. Uh, The next one is called a reverse wrist lock, in which you catch the person's hand and turn it over so that their elbow is up, and you torque the hand backwards like so. Again, your thumb is in the middle of the hand so that you're between those bones there, and you're torquing against the knuckles. It doesn't really matter where the fingers go. Besides, that's banned in MMA because it makes it too easy to break the opponent's fingers. So just push against the knuckles with your thumb inside the palm of their hand, and make sure the elbow is pointing up. And then when you get this behind them, you turn it up like so, and they tap out. All right. There was a dude running his mouth one time that I met, and he was claiming that he beat all these jiu-jitsu fighters and whatnot. And I was like, guy, let me show you something. I said, throw a punch at me. I said, throw your best punch at me. And he threw what he thought was a good punch at me. And I immediately wrapped him up into the reverse wrist lock. And he was like, oh my God, don't do that cop shit to me. Don't do that cop shit to me. And I was like, that's called jiu-jitsu. I was like, I thought you said you tapped all these people out. All right. Then there's one called a double cross arm wrist lock, where you get two front wrist locks on a person with their arms crossed like this. There's another move called a double cross arm wrist lock that's a little bit different, and I'm not sure how it's done, to be honest. But this one, if you get two wrist locks on a person with their arms crossed, then you can kick and knee their guts out until the referee calls a stop to the fight. And it's real, it works. Don't ever let it happen to you, because you'll absolutely get destroyed as soon as it happens. Then there's Nikio, which is actually just Japanese for second technique. So, like when someone grabs you by the collar, you might have seen this in the next Karate Kid movie, where Miyagi puts Nikio on Dugan, and then he lets him out of Nikio. All right, but you reach up and grab their hand and torque it this way, and then you wrap your other hand around here, and you continue the torque, and they tap out. All right, and then Sankyo is where you have them up like this, and you lock their hand into their wrist. It's a bit like the front wrist lock, but it's inverted. All right, and this makes their elbow very weak, and they'll tend to go up on their tiptoes before it gets too bad to tap out. But then from here, you can throw them and possibly break their wrist and arm as well if you want to. You can safely throw them by grabbing up here, or you can just put all the pressure on the wrist and fingers and elbow and just throw them and probably break their wrist. All right. And then what's the other one? Takame is when you have this lock on them and you have pressure and you're keeping their elbow from moving out, and you have this lock on them. And this one will also tend to put the person up on their toes, even though you're pressing down. All right. They'll try to go to their toes because the natural reaction is to try to get the pressure off of you. And that's about the only thing your body will allow you to do. And then you'll tap out. I believe that was called Takami. All right. The figure four ankle lock is a similar mechanism to the rear naked choke, rather. All right. So you're going to take your radius bone, which is here, and you're going to put it under the other person's Achilles, and you're going to tuck their foot under your armpit like so. All right. Because I don't have a demonstration partner. I wish I did, but the only person I could use would be my nephew, and I don't want to risk hurting him because he's a tennis star in high school. But anyway, you're going to lock their foot under your armpit, and then with your other hand, you're going to clasp under this hand and over their foot. And so you're going to apply down pressure here and up pressure there, and then you're going to roll back. All right. And that's going to rupture their Achilles tendon unless they tap out. If they tap out, you let them go. But if they don't tap out, or if it's like a street self-defense situation, and ideally you want to be in cross position so they can't kick you in the head with their free leg. All right. You don't want to be in their leg guard or when they're on the ground to do that ankle lock, because if it's a MMA match or a real street fight, they can kick you in the head with their free leg. So you want to take, for example, their right foot and jam it under your right armpit. not their left foot. Because if you use their left foot, they can kick you in the head with their right foot. If you use their right foot, their left foot's too far in that direction to reach your head, and you're safe. All right. And then the reverse is when you turn them upside down, face down on the mat, and you lean back into it. Like it's basically the same thing as the half crab that they sometimes do in pro WWE wrestling, except that you're doing it for real and you're not letting them out of it. All right. Whereas they're faking it on WWE. They're not putting full pressure on one another. All right. Another one that works is this thing right here under the trachea. There, you feel that little indentation in your neck, even if you have a thick neck or even if you have a thin neck. There's an indentation under your Adam's apple, and you can take your forefinger or your ring bird finger and jam in. First, it's like an up and back motion, but then you go down and back, and you feel how there's space there. Go down and back really fast on yourself, and it'll buckle your own knees. Do it to somebody else, and it will floor them. All right. And that move is banned in mixed martial arts. Pinching the flesh, like the nerves on the side of the neck, is banned in mixed martial arts because there actually is a knockout point right there. Jamming your thumb into the jaw joint right here. I forget what this is called, but in karate, it's called a kamae. And in MMA, they call it some kind of nerve joint that's right there. And you jam your thumb under the joint of the jaw, and it dislocates the jaw. And that is banned in MMA. Okay. But for street self-defense, you would ideally jam your thumb under the jaw as you also grab the person's eyeball and rip into the orbital bone of the eye. And you put pressure between the jaw and the orbital bone of the eye. The orbital bone of the eye is actually going to break first, and then you'll get enough force that you'll dislocate their jaw, and they will be fucked up for life, obviously. And pardon my language, I usually don't talk like that, but I'm just being honest that if you do that to somebody in a street self-defense situation, make sure it really is a life or death fight, because you will get sued by whatever's left of that person that survives for excessive force. So make sure it's a real life or death fight before you do something like that to somebody. Front chokes are banned in MMA because they cause permanent damage to the windpipe and esophagus. So all front choke variants are now, they weren't originally, but they're now banned in MMA for that reason. Reverse guillotine or reverse neck breakers are banned in MMA under the no neck crank rule, as is the reverse back breaker, standing back breaker, which dislocates the jaw and potentially hyperextends the neck. And the full arm bar also potentially or definitely hyperextends the neck of the opponent, because that's where you brace against. You brace your foot against the side of their neck as you arm bar them in this kind of manner. And it hyperextends the wrist and elbow, but it also hyperextends the neck. And because it hyperextends the neck, that move is banned in MMA. You can't use any neck crank variation in MMA anymore because it's permanent injury, or else it can be 6 months to a year or two before the person recovers, even if they ever do recover, if you do it to the point of getting somebody to tap out. For demonstration and learning purposes in a dojo, you let them loose at a light tap, they're immediately going to tap. But when somebody's fighting over $1 million prize pool, they might not realize how much danger they're in, and they don't tap as fast as they should, and then they get permanently hurt. All right. The other thing is, technically, it's a rule in MMA that you're supposed to give the other person time to tap. So when you put a submission on them, you don't just crank on them with the intent to hurt. You have to gradually apply pressure. If you intentionally hurt somebody, or they suspect that you intentionally hurt somebody, you can get fined in prison time, even in an MMA fight, even if you didn't break any other rule. All right, because that's part of the rules. It says so in the paper manual, that you have to give the other person time to tap out before you seriously injure them. All right. This one's a little harder to show on this camera, but I'm going to set my foot up on this bed so you can see this. All right, so this is my toes sticking up. I don't know if I can get it fully on the camera. But anyway, there's an inside heel hook which takes this foot and turns it inward, all right, when you catch it. And there's an outside heel hook. And I swear I don't think the people in MMA know either of them, because I see all the time they pass up opportunities to apply this and win the fight right there, and they don't do it. But the outside heel hook, I can feel just torquing my own leg right there. I can feel where the pressure is going to be. It's on this ligament that ties into the back of the knee, all right, and also on the hip on the opposite direction over here, all right. And so if you do an outside heel hook where you place one of your hands under the heel and the other hand at the top of the toes and simply torque outward like that, it's going to tap the other person right out, or else they're going to get a ligament strain. All right, because I could literally feel where just torquing that motion with my own foot is putting the strain. Let me see if I can get this camera. Forgive me, my room is a mess here, but it's putting a strain right here. All right, and it's going to tear if you don't tap out. And I don't know if that move's banned or if it's just that they don't do it or they don't know it because they never use it. And it's right there. And it's like, how many times have we seen them catch their leg and not do anything with it? At least put the front figure four ankle lock on them, or at least put a heel hook on them. But they just let the leg go, catch it and hold it for a second or two, and then let it go. And they could have tapped the other person right out. That's another thing about the knees. I double checked, because two different AIs disagree about this, about whether this is legal in the rules of MMA. All you have to do to submit somebody is stand on the back of their knee, especially if you already got them grounded. There's a very painful pressure point deep in there under the back of the kneecap, and you just put the heel of your foot in the back of their knee and stand on it, and they will tap. All right. So I'm not lying. I'm not making this stuff up. I know all these moves. I know countless different types of submissions that don't even have a real name other than just standing on the back of the knee, or, standing on the shin of a grounded opponent, because I checked it and it's not illegal to stand on a grounded opponent according to the AI. And I checked the manual, and the manual does not say that it's illegal to stand on a grounded opponent. It is illegal to stomp on a grounded opponent, especially their head, but it's not illegal to stand on them or part of their body to apply pain and pressure. All right, I've been on this video for 17 minutes, which is longer than I expected to be. So thanks to anybody that watches, which it'll probably only be 3 or 4 people that watch this. But thanks anyway, and have a nice day.